call this meeting to order. Council, will you call the other side?
Thank you.
I think he stepped in the restroom. That's what I think.
Mr. Chairman, we may have to wait just 1 minute. I don't believe Mr. Hargrove's returned quite yet.
Oh, he's back.
If we'll give him just a
I thought our
minute.
time was up.
But
It is.
I believe the Ware County Board of Elections has closed their presentation of evidence, and so the next, Mr. Hargrove mentioned earlier, he doesn't have any witnesses, so he, I assume, will want to testify on his behalf. Mr. Bartlett may ask him any questions he chooses. The board may ask him any questions, and then
Okay.
we'll give them, each side 2 minutes to summarize what they believe to be the evidence presented and what they would ask this board to do, and then it'll be time for you all to make the decision. So, Mr. Hargrove, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
Now, and the podium, of course. And raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And just state your name for the record and your role with the Ware County Board of Elections.
My name is Michael Hargrove. Excuse me. I'm a member of the Ware County Board of Elections. Been there for a little over a year now. Excuse me. I did take some notes. It's been some interesting conversations, interesting testimony that's going on here. I would ask you, I left a red folder on your desk,
Yeah.
and I would ask you to pop that out for me. Because on one side, it's got a statement, and in the middle, it's got a table of contents, and on the right side, the right folder is going to have the exhibits. I know there's a lot in here. I didn't expect you to read all this today. I wasn't sure if you were going to do a recess or a continuance to make a decision. I understand you want to get this done today. Actually, so do I. But in the middle, on the table of contents, I've got a short version, which I'm going to read through real quickly, which is the left-hand document. And I've got these documents where they flip up, so you can read the back page as well. Just to save paper. I've already spent a ream of paper making all this. So we can go along. If you'll go to page 4 on the hearing brief. And I'll just hit the highlights here. Yeah, I was forced out on May 15th. I was forced out of the voting place, which is the room they have voting downstairs, and by Mr. Camps. And he seemed to have ignorance about what the polling sign actually meant. Now, we've all seen a picture of that polling sign, the one in your Exhibit A. Only polling workers, poll watchers, and persons actively voting. This one, you've all got, a couple of you have copies of it. I put it in the back. The state put these out, along with other signage, to help in controlling the voting at each polling place. So this sign is actually meant for voters. Now, there's been a lot of discussion in the presentation by the board that, well, it applies to board members as well. I don't agree with that. So what I want to do is go through a little bit of this. So like I said, starting on page 4, I got forced out of the polling location for no real good reason other than the fact that I was just standing in there. I wasn't at a polling booth. I wasn't interfering with voters. I was doing what I've seen others do, including the chairman, over the past year that I've been poll watcher. Later on, during the meeting on the 21st of May, we had a call meeting, election day. I was informed that I had insulted one of the poll workers in 2020. Well, that would be an interesting case to resolve because I didn't start poll watching until 2022. Anyway, at that time, I had one board member, Ms. Solomon Gaines, pushing a vote of no confidence and a removal from the board. So, it appears that she was heading up the voter no confidence in the removal today. I understand also that I did go to the county admin building on both Tuesday and Wednesday. I went there Tuesday to take my significant other to vote. And as per other polling location, I was going to go in and say hi to people. But obviously, that's the polling place. This is not the voting booth. It's not the enclosed space that other people on the board keep referring to. There's two different issues here. One is the actual room that has the voting. The other is the actual area that voters go to vote. That is sacrosanct. Nobody can get in that area except persons that have signed up to help that person vote. You can't be within 6 feet of it. So I think there's a basic misunderstanding here by some of the people that have testified against me on what the actual places and voting booths represent. Now, if you'll go to, let's see. I spent a lot of time on this after I got tossed out of the voting room because I didn't think I understood the law on the matter. And so I started researching. The first person I called, obviously, was Ms. Herzog, the county attorney, and asked her what exactly are the rights and responsibilities of elections board members in the polling place. And of course, she refused to correspond with me further because she was representing the board. So I had no help from the county. So I called the attorney for the state GOAT, who helps monitor election integrity in Atlanta. And that would be a Kendall Haley. I'm on page 13, by the way. So I asked him the same question: what are my rights and responsibilities? And he said, well, the elections code is actually silent on this, but it's assumed that board members can go in there at any time, as long as they don't interfere with the voting process. So that's as far as I got with the state GOAT attorney for election integrity. So the next thing he said, call the elections division at the Secretary of State's office, which I sent an email to. And I talked to Mr. Bell, Aaron Bell. He said, confirm the code, the actual elections code was actually silent on the issue. But once again, it was assumed. And by the way, as I go through these, you'll see little numbers at the end of each paragraph in brackets, the uppercase numbers. Those are references to the exhibit package you have on the other side of the folder. Okay, so you can go back and check all this later. So, not getting anywhere with the Secretary of State's office, I call the one of the can I use girl in this case? I call one of the girls at the elections at the Secretary of State's office. I forget her name, and asked her if there was any legislation pending to clarify this issue, because he'd made a big stink of things at polling location down in Ware County. And once again, they said, no, we don't have anything on that. We're not intending to change the policies and take it up with the county. So I'm back to square one on that. So I started having to do some of my own research. On page 14, the first place I looked was the Elections Code Handbook, the one that was up here earlier. And so it talked about local election officials. And it mentioned specifically the County Board of Elections and Registrations. Well, the County Board of Elections and Registrations means the entire board, jointly and severally. That's all of us, together or individually. We're all members of that. The election superintendent is us. We're the board. We have a chairman that is supposed to be running things for us. And of course, we hire a supervisor, in this case Alan Nelson, to execute the actual voting. So that's what the election codes really say about it. I've got some other quotes later. The enabling legislation was mentioned as well, but I'm only interested in section 1 here, and that would be, I need my glasses. That would be exhibit 1 in the back, but forgetting that because I got a quote right here. Section 1 says, the board shall have the powers, duties, and responsibility of the superintendent of elections. In other words, we're in charge of running the election. Some other information I had to pull up because I couldn't find anything in the elections code. I pulled up the poll watcher training manual. And you've got a copy of that as well. But if you'll flip to page 15, I've got a part of it quoted. In that part, it says on page 2, the election superintendent and poll officer are the sole authority in the polling place. I mean, we run the polling places, guys. We hire people to do work for us in the polling places, but we're responsible for running it. And on page 3, the next page, the guidelines included in the handout that is part of the exhibit, okay, specify who is allowed inside the polling area at all times. Number 1, poll officials. Number 2, or number 4 in this case, members of the Board of Elections and Elections office staff. So I'm supposed to be there. Now they have a poll worker manual as well. It actually focuses on training people to run the elections underneath the supervisor. And that's where we get into the details of what I've talked about before. A couple of you guys have slipped in one of these, I think in probably the front. This is called a polling place. And you gotta watch the nomenclature, both in this printed information as well as the elections code itself. The polling place is the building. It's the room where all the stuff's set up. This is different. This is different from the enclosed space or the voting booth. This is the no-no area. You can't go in here, you can't get within 6 feet of this place while somebody's voting, unless you've signed up ahead of time to assist that voter. Any poll watcher, any poll worker, any chairman would know this in any state, in any county. But this is it right here. I think there's a syntax misunderstanding. Maybe with me too, I don't know. But I think there's some misunderstandings going on here as far as who's able to go where. So, yes, I was surprised. I was surprised Tuesday when I went over there and wasn't allowed in. I said, okay, fine. I don't have my lanyard. Maybe it's a big deal that I not have my lanyard even though they know him, even though they know me. So I let it go. Went back Wednesday and I took my lanyard just to show, okay guys, remember I'm a board member, I'm allowed in here. And it went downhill from there. For no reason. No reason at all. When I went in there to start, there weren't even voters in there. When the voters started showing up, I was in the back talking to a poll clerk because I'd never met him, didn't know him. Wanted to go back and say hi. So the poll worker manual has some more information, but primarily this is the important piece of the poll worker manual. This explains the difference between the enclosed space, the 6-foot circle, and the room itself. Like I said, anybody who's worked elections should know that. You know, I not only had poll watcher training, and I did it at 3 different locations, but I also had a chance to observe other officials, board member officials, when they were in the polling places. And they, including Mr. Bartlett here, walked in there. I don't know what he did to get in there, but he walked around, voters were in there, people were greeting him, my buddy, all this kind of stuff, and that's fine. The whole idea is us to be, like Nelson said, flies on the wall, which is what I intended to be, but it changed. Maybe that was part of my fault, I don't know. But anyway, it's common practice to see people not immediately exiting the polling place, and that's fine. They're not interfering with other voters. Didn't bother me after I saw him anyway. So, going on to page 16, training provided to other board members and staff. For the code State of Georgia, 21-2-99. The election superintendent shall provide adequate training to all poll officers and poll workers. Well, I'm sure some of them get trained. I don't know if all of them do. And as far as the information about a board member receiving special training, I've not been made aware of any special training that I could attend. I know Mr. Bartlett has been to one, and I just heard that Ms. Gaines went to one. I've never heard of any of that. Haven't heard of anything. Not that that's my excuse, I'm just saying. You know, I've got a little bit of discrimination going on here. But now, you know, that's the legal side of it. Board members are allowed into the polling places. They just have to stay away from the voters. They have to acknowledge that 6-foot circle around the voting booth. Even poll watchers, they need to stand away from somebody voting when somebody's voting, because the law states you're not supposed to be able to see other people's secret ballot. Bottom line, like I said, common knowledge. This is the legal side of it. Very little information that you can find in the code. Just as bad in some of the other documents, but at least it gives you some guidance on what you can do and what you can't do as a board member. That and common practice. But now we get to page 18. Some of the actual issues at play. I don't think this really had anything to do with me showing up and wanting to go into the polling location. I'm seeing it as kind of a social lynching of me over a case of mistaken identity. And I refer back to what I'm going to tell you here. I'll refer back to what Ms. King said earlier about me insulting her. On July 13th last year, I was at my first board meeting. Several citizens were in attendance. Ms. King spoke to us that day. She spoke of an incident that happened at the Jamestown precinct in 2020. According to the minutes that were published, somebody had accused her of wrongdoing. They had had words. I remember that. It was my first meeting. Her actual statement was that she had been called the N-word by a poll watcher at the Jamestown precinct. Hargrove also noted several glances in his direction as she spoke. Then we moved on to other business. I forgot about it. However, over the next few months, I began to notice a chill in relations with people that were working the polls. Some of the staff members, especially Ms. King, would not even make eye contact with me. Never spoke to me. I didn't understand, but I let it go. Personality differences. And then during the May 21st call board meeting, all of a sudden, board member Solomon Gaines made it clear to everyone why King had never given me the time of day. She had mistaken me for a Roger Summerall, whose name I got from Deborah Giddens, the GOAT chairwoman here in Ware County, that he'd had some sort of altercation with Miss King in 2020. So apparently Miss King carries this grudge. And she's carried apparently a grudge against me because he really hasn't spoken to me. Yeah, like I say, well, that's fine, you know, different personalities, whatever. But the fact remains, if you look on page 19, that I didn't start working, poll watching, until 2022, 2 years later. Now, I've only worked as a poll watcher at 3 locations: Tebow, the County Annex building downstairs, and the City Auditorium. I've never even been to Jamestown. And I've had personally very little interaction with her. I really don't know the woman. And I have yet to see any records produced, official records, that say I was the one that did all this. So I'm wondering how I can be in 2 places at one time, actually. But I believe, I allege that this has had a direct impact on the attitude shown me in a variety of locations at a variety of times. So that just fills it out. Now, on page 20, I have another little piece of the puzzle that helps start making sense of all this. Board member Marion Solomon Gaines, who actually chastised me in the meeting on May 21st. And it appears it was because of her misunderstandings on the difference between a polling place and an enclosed space. She also made a motion of no confidence then, and had made a motion to remove me from the board, and that's why we're here today, instead of at Elbow Creek or whatever. Please note that Ms. Gaines and I have kind of a history with each other. She used to be a city commissioner. As you know, I'm a citizen of Waycross. I live in the city limits on Alice Street. When I see the city doing something wrong, I did then and I still do. I commented on it on my webpage, Waycross and Ware County Unfiltered. In this first instance, Gaines supported, she voted for the illegal removal of the Confederate Memorial Statue at Phoenix Park. I had spoken publicly against its removal several times at the city commission meetings. Apparently, she developed a little bit of a personal bias at that point. Another instance I've had with her, Ms. Gaines helped kill off a 100-unit apartment development in her district, saying it wouldn't fit. It had been a parcel of property owned by a developer for several years and would have added 100 new apartment units to the city and to her district, which sorely needs new housing. And she fought me on that. She also encouraged, I think she encouraged her replacement to do the same. She, or the group has mislabeled this as project housing. In other words, low income. It's nothing of the sort. Anyway, Waycross lost a chance at some economic development, some new housing stock, and a bigger property tax base because of, as far as I'm concerned, personal issues. The developer ended up taking his next project to Douglas. If you'll go to page 21, Ms. Gaines has also attacked me in public at the Waycross City Commission planning an information session over my campaign of Make Waycross Great Again. Had some hands printed. I put a notice on the webpage. What she did in December of 22 was mock the idea to the City Commission. We're talking about going back to 1860, 1890, 1940. She's also criticized me for small things. And just recently, she criticized me for making a comment about using a militant upraised fist in city advertising. You know, the BLM fist. She criticized me on that. I've got an example, I've got a picture of that in the evidence package as well. Personally, I think the use of militant symbols in city advertising is racially divisive and counter to everything Hargrove would like to see in his community regarding race relations. But the strangest part, and I don't know how this fits, but I've been told, when I brought this up to them, I've been told from multiple sources that poll worker King, board member Gaines, and board member Whitfield are all related. So I'm wondering if there's some sort of personal relationship at work behind all this as well. But the thing that disturbs me from being a board member for a year is on page 22. It's about asking too many questions. I'm naturally curious about how things work. The idea behind asking questions at the board is to find out how to make things better, faster, cheaper, safer, and all that. And I've got several examples here where it doesn't seem to do any good sometimes. During a meeting in 2023, I was given a sheet of voter addresses that didn't exist, but had registered voters. I asked how that happened. Never heard back. Last year, I think, after seeing a newspaper article about hand counting ballots costing the county $75,000 and taking weeks to complete, I did a couple of time and motion studies where I watched a couple. One was over at the library one night. I believe Mr. Burst was in attendance. And another one was actually at the elections board. We were verifying the count on ballot. I ran some numbers out, and I believe I gave you guys a copy of it last year. Not you, you weren't here yet. But it's in Exhibit T, by the way. But I showed where it cost to hand count ballots. It was around 100, 120 ballots per man hour. And it came in nowhere near what Mr. Nelson told you it would cost, taking time. Another issue, we switched poll locations at Emerson Park last year. We had a meeting about it, and I believe there was a notice in the paper as well. I took the time to go out there and check out the facility, and I made notes about it. Matter of fact, the county inspector was out there with us. I made notes about it, about the entry and exit bathroom not being ADA compliant, or not having the proper electrical, and I made recommendations to straighten it out. Now, we voted to use that facility then, that next meeting, but we voted subject to these improvements being made. They're never made. So all it's done really is set up the county for the risk of being named in additional lawsuits over ADA non-compliance. That's notation down at the bottom. I've asked about maps. Been told go to the county. I've had to wait time and again for different voter lists from Mr. Nelson. Either he's late sending them or he doesn't send what I've asked for. Now we've had a failure to even record this meeting where they held the vote of no confidence. Mr. Nelson decided to record that meeting on his cell phone instead of using the county's equipment. And, he lost it. So that one thing puts it into the hearsay category of he said, she said, because there's no actual recording of it. Now why? One of the reasons I came here in May, both on Tuesday and Wednesday, I came here to look at the vote count on the machine, on the scanner, the one you punch in on the way out the door. Now Tuesday I brought in my better half, I call her my better half, to vote, and I was going to walk around and go look at the numbers. I did the same thing Wednesday when I got thrown out. The reason I was there, I want to see what the vote counts are over here, because they've been historically low ever since I've been here. And I'm thinking, well, maybe the elections board is wasting $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on a satellite facility with a minimal return of voters. That's why I was there. Never got a chance to even say that. So I'm trying to watch the dollars here, and they're telling me to get out. The last thing, I can go on and on. Like the Nelson versus Strickland debacle, where the county's on the hook now to finance another election. I'm not going to go any further. If you want to read it, you can read it. If you doubt anything I've told you today, I've got the evidence package. I've got the transcripts of the conversations. If you have any question about what I've said here today, all you can do is ask me. You can listen or look at yourself. So in conclusion, it's true that the code book itself does not directly address the rights and responsibilities of elections officials. It's on page 24. However, there's plenty of state-provided literature, Secretary of State-provided literature, that indicates it's not an issue for board members to be in that room. You've just got the inner sanctum sanctorum around each individual enclosed space, the voting booth. That's what we as poll workers, watchers, and board members have to respect. I don't think my removal from the polling area by poll worker Caps, I don't think it was due to his lack of knowledge and training. Might have been in part, but not totally. I'm beginning to think it was a deliberate, planned act egged on by others. And this is in direct conflict with his training. It states poll workers need to be judicious, intelligent, and use sound judgment in the execution of their duties. Caps was hostile. Caps was belligerent. This would have never elevated to this level had he known the law. You know, I've tossed this back and forth in my head for a while. I understand people make mistakes. And maybe I've made some. And maybe others have. Personally, I don't harbor. I don't harbor any grudge against King. It was maybe an honest mistake, I don't know. I just know it went too far. The other thing is, when you got an accusation like that floating around behind somebody's back, it does not need to stay behind somebody's back. They should have been worked out months ago. Months ago. And here we are today, making the entire elections board look like, never mind. And there's nothing wrong with having personal, professional disagreements with other people. I'm not mad at Solomon Gaines for going against me on stuff. It's her right. This is America still. But when you take your personal biases and disagreements into another professional setting and try to make decisions with all that in the back of your head, something's wrong with that. So I've got 5 action items here. Quite frankly, you know, we needed 4 hours to do this, maybe 5. I don't know if you want to consider all this right now, if you have time to look at this, or even if you want to look at this. But I've got backup on all this. All this stuff about me creating a disturbance, crazy stuff going on, yelling and screaming, I can directly prove that's a lie. All you gotta do is check your email. The audios are there. There's a lot of lies in some of this. A lot of stretching the truth, some misfabrication. I'm still stunned to hear that in a polling place, when the voter's in there, nobody can be in there. I'm still stunned that somebody would say that. In a position of responsibility, somebody would say that. Anyway, you've got my recommendations there. I'm up for questions.
Mr. Chairman, before we let the Board of Elections ask any questions of Mr. Hargrove, and then of course the Board of Commissioners, Mr. Hargrove, do you have a copy for the clerk of whatever information you've presented, and also for the Board of Elections?
Sure, they've got copies.
They've got copies,
Yeah, we
okay.
got
I've got one extra copy.
You got one extra? Okay. Well, maybe we'll just give that to the Board of Elections at this time, and then we'll let the clerk make a copy of the, one of
I'll hand it to
yours.
the clerk, and you can do what you want to with it.
Okay. We're gonna give that copy to the Board of Elections, just so they'll have a copy, and then we'll get one of your copies for the clerk.
I know that was a lot to digest, gentlemen. That's the abbreviated version. So, anyway. Like I said, the hearing brief on one side, the backup exhibits on the other side, and I've got additional backup to that, if you have any question about what I said.
Commission have any?
Yeah,
Procedure-wise, if you don't mind, if we'll let the Board of Elections go first and then let the Board of Commissioners go after them.
Danny, do y'all have any questions?
Having not heard any of this, especially the character assassinations, the innuendos, the complete falsehoods I've heard, I don't have time to do anything.
Danny, will you come up here where we can hear you a little better? Please.
So I'm not gonna ask any questions right now, but I do have a closing statement after we get done with this part.
Okay.
So the
Mr.
Board of,
Nelson, do you have any?
We rest.
the Board of Commissioners have any questions for Mr. Hargrove?
Now, go ahead.
Whoever's recognized by the chair.
First, Mr. Hargrove, appreciate you serving on the election board, and I don't know you personally. Was there someone in the voting, when you were asked by Mr. Capps to leave, was someone in there voting the first time?
When I walked in, there was nobody in there.
Okay,
There's somebody that came in there later while I was already in the room.
okay, so he asked you to leave.
Oh, he demanded it.
When you say, I mean, cause that's what I'm looking at these words you're using about you forced out or you kicked out and all that, where you just asked to leave. I mean, because it's different from someone that asked you to leave, then you saying you forced out, that kind of implies almost like they manhandled you and ushered you out by the arm, something like that. And that's, again, that's carrying that negative connotation, you know, that, so were you asked to leave out?
Can you look it up? It's not in that. You need to leave.
Okay, you need to leave. That's, to me, that wouldn't be like you being forced to just say you need to leave.
You need to leave.
Okay, all right, so we won't split hairs on that. So, and you also indicated that, that you were not a poll watcher in when this happened in 2020, about something that happened out in, what was it, Bickley, or what was it at?
I started poll watching in 2022.
Okay, but I'm saying, where did this incident happen where it was said that something was said out there?
I was accused of calling Miss King that at Jamestown.
Okay, so, and you were a poll watcher, you were a poll watcher sometime at Jamestown?
Never.
Okay, but she didn't indicate that you were a poll watcher when this incident happened. She didn't ever say, I don't think that you were a poll watcher. She just said that this incident happened. So whether you were a poll watcher or not is really irrelevant.
I was told by Mary Solomon Gaines in the call meeting on the 21st of May that Miss King had relayed all this to her.
Right, but
So we either call me a liar or her a liar.
no,
I don't know.
I'm saying it could have happened, but you maybe weren't a poll watcher, but you were there, and if, what
I was
happened?
never at Jamestown.
So you were never there?
I didn't even know where it was until this came up.
Okay,
I knew about where it was.
okay, all right. And you say that you were never offered to go to training in Athens?
I didn't know anything about any additional training. My training was, here's a book, read it, and it was there was a color flyer on, where is it? The color flyer on, you're a poll watcher now, or you're a board member now. What next? Let me see if I can find a picture of it.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying, you say you were never offered the opportunity to go for training in Athens.
No, it's been great. It's been great. Everybody should go through training.
Right. Okay, Madam Attorney, can I ask Ms. King a question?
Is the chairman,
Yeah.
I just
if
want
the chairman
one
deems that
question.
appropriate, if
Can
we've
you
got
ask Ms.
conflicting
King?
Yeah, I
evidence,
just
we
want to
need
ask
to
him one
clarify.
question.
Can he ask a question?
Yeah,
Ms. King?
do you know
Okay.
Ronald Summerall? Roger Summerall, do you know him?
The way that I know him is that at our last election that we had in Jamestown, he came in that election and the one before that. And so that's how I know that who he is.
All right.
Because of that behavior.
And you know Mr. Hargrove?
I know him, haven't seen him at the Board of Elections and seen him in this area.
So you know the difference between these two individuals? I mean, could you,
Somewhat.
so could you get them mixed up? Do you think you could have been mistaken, Mr. Summerall?
It's
Because,
very, very possible that I could have. The incident did occur, but if he also highlighted, he will note that I said that I cannot specifically say who said what.
right,
I never called anyone's name.
that's,
I said this happened, but I never called and said this person said it or that person said it.
right, and
It's
that's,
actually there.
thank you. That's, now, and Mr. Hargrove, I listened to you intently, just like I listened to everyone else.
Yeah.
And out of all this, to me, and, you know, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but you're trying to spin this to get the focus off of what really happened. Now, about going in there and you saying that you were asked to leave out of the office and all that, that doesn't have anything to do with the fact. The crux to me is what happened when you and Ms. King and the drama that was brought from that incident. This is why, and you say that people that you weren't loud and you weren't this, and you got people, you got a deputy sheriff there under, I guess, oath that was saying the thing that you were happening. So I'm focusing more on what happened there as far as with you, Ms. King, and the atmosphere that you caused at that time, rather than whether you went in there and you weren't supposed to go, because based on what I've been hearing and what I read, you're not supposed to be going in there when someone is voting in the place. Now, you say that Mr. Bartlett done and other board members done it. I don't know that to be the fact, but I wouldn't think that they would be singling you out because you went in there and allowing someone else to go. I don't think that's the nature of these people over there. Now,
Well, I wouldn't think so either, sir.
yeah. So I think that's,
I can only tell you what happened.
yeah, but I think the thing that brought this whole thing while we're here now is not so much about you going in there in these voting booths or when the voters were in there. It's about the incident with you and Ms. King. That's the focus. That's the main thing. And I think that's what we need to get back to, that and not all this other stuff, because all that could have happened about the apartments and Ms. Gaines, all that. But that doesn't have anything to do with what happened with you and Ms. King.
The only thing that happened with me and Miss King was that I went in there and I showed her my badge and kept walking. Simply because we don't speak.
So what
I'm
about?
sorry that's the case.
So what about when you were behind her, going behind her and getting, as she stayed in her space or up on her, and she asked you to move away, and other people say they witnessed the same thing?
Well, all I can say to that is that I was outside, I was at the table outside the polling place, looking through the code book, trying to find what I thought was in the elections code about board members being in the room. And as I was standing there looking at the code book, she walked through right behind me and going outside. And she was on the phone. And I heard 2, 3 words, Michael, and then rude and disrespectful. And immediately after that, I said to myself, I gotta hear this. And I followed her outside. And that's when this little altercation started outside.
So,
Nothing physical, but a word game here.
so when she said Michael and disrespectful,
It could have been any Michael, that's
well,
true.
so apparently something must have happened for you to feel like, hey, she's talking about me.
Well, Michael, rude and disrespectful, what would you think?
Well, but were you rude and disrespectful?
Apparently to her, I was. Apparently to me, no.
Because if you weren't, why would you need to go and follow her?
I apologized to her in the hall. She denies it, but I apologized to her in the hall.
That's all I have right now, Mr.
She
Chairman.
denied it. Got it written down right here what she said. It's not according to what I have on the record.
Anybody else?
I got a question, Mr. Hargrove, if you don't mind, sir.
Sir,
First of all, thank you too for your service on the election board. And like Commissioner Burse, I listened to everybody as good as I can, very attentively, personally. But I heard one of the comments you made about it being elevated, and it sounded to me like you believe it was never elevated to this level. And my question being, did you contribute to it being elevated to that level?
Well, I probably did. And that's why we went outside.
Okay, do you?
Because after I got booted out, yeah, my temperature went up a little bit. Was I screaming and crazy and threatening? Absolutely not. Was my voice a little higher? Maybe so.
All right, my next question would be, Mr. Hargrove, in the time and day we live in a poll location, is that presentable? Is that okay? Should that be allowed?
I admit I was upset. It's probably not acceptable, okay? I'll take the hit on that. But when you had it thrown in your face, I'm sorry, it was just a temporary reaction.
I understand. I do. I just wanted to clarify that. And I would sum it up with, do you feel others helped elevate it to that level? Or
I'm sorry?
do you feel that the person you talking with at the time helped elevate it to that level? I mean, did Sergeant Fuller, did he help elevate it to that level, in your opinion?
Were they elevated?
The deputy sheriff. The deputy sheriff, did he help you elevate it to that level?
No, he was just there as an observer.
He talked calm and rational?
Yeah.
Did
Matter
he?
of fact, we were all kind of calm and rational. We were having a discussion on who's supposed to be doing what.
Well, you understand the main concern here. I mean, when a law enforcement officer gets called to the admin building, I mean, and that admin building falls under everybody you see sitting at these tables in here.
It was funny you mentioned that too, because I had just gotten off the phone with Danny Bartlett, asked him to come over here, because I'm required to do that for state law. If there's anything going on that's bad in the polling area, I'm supposed to call the superintendent, not the supervisor. I'm supposed to call Dan, who said he was gonna come over, and he did. In the meantime, apparently, he called Mr. James, who in turn called somebody else, who in turn sent the deputy over there to see what was going on. Now, that's not supposed to happen unless there's a threat of life and limb in a polling place, to call in law enforcement. This is stuff you're supposed to handle in-house. Why he felt the need to do that, I don't know what kind of story he was getting from others on the phone with him. And that's why I followed the guy out to the parking lot. Who called you about this?
You'd be surprised, Mr. Hargrove.
I probably would.
I'll make one comment on that if I may. I had a good friend of mine now who used to be my chief for years, and he taught me years ago, a long time, about 25 years ago, made a comment to us one time. Said the person that picks up the phone and calls 911, how irrelevant it may sound to you, how small and minute it may sound to you, it's the biggest thing going on in their life at that particular time. And that's the way we're to treat everybody that we approach. And I believe that sergeant sitting right there would tell you the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That's the way we approach every situation, as it being the most important thing in their life going on at that time.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he came down. I was just surprised.
I think I'm just gonna throw this out there, commissioners, if it's okay, Chairman. I believe this could have been handled a different way than bringing it before the commission. I would like some time, because I just was told just now about emails, and I would like to listen to those emails. I don't know how long we got, but
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead.
And I know we've been here a long time, but you know, just talking about the emails, Commissioner Lucas and all this, but we've had the election board, we had the witnesses here, we had Mr. Hargrove here, and even when this was sent out, we listen to this and we make a decision based on the information that we have before us. Because, you know, if we talk about waiting and coming back another time, it's all kind of minutia can get into that. And I think we need to make this decision just as I said, and like I say, it's not personal with me, it's just a matter of we as commissioners having a responsibility, and it's falling on us now. Would I like for it to go and vanish and go somewhere else? Sure, but we as commissioners, we would be derelict in our responsibility and duties if we didn't go and address this, because this is what we are charged to do. And I think this is what we're gonna have to do, you know, based on the information we got here. And one thing we got to remember whenever we do make this decision is that we got to remember this is not just for this one incident right here. This is for the future of the election board, for poll workers, for the supervisors trying to recruit people to come in. So we need to look down the road and see. And it's unfortunate that it happened. Mr. Hargrove, I think in retrospect, he could go back and replay it. He would maybe do things a little different. But this is the thing I think we got to bear in mind. And one question I have for Mr. Bartlett, if he may, and I don't want to put you on the spot. Have you or any of the other election board members that you know of or you're aware of ever gone into the building when someone was in there voting? And if they did, were they asked to leave to come out?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we have some polling places that are very large, and we can step in and be right inside the door, but we're not near
Right,
the actual voting booth.
Right.
Down here, you walk in the door, you're within just about the area.
Right.
So it all depends on the size of the room.
Okay, so it's extenuating circumstances that will allow maybe where you could step in, but you're not actually in proximity.
Yeah, Second Baptist, huge room.
Right.
Step inside, you can talk to the manager.
Right.
The voting booths are way out there.
Right.
But by definition, it's still the enclosed space.
Right. Okay.
And I believe that we're supposed to have closing comments too before we finish.
So procedurally, I think if the commission has any more questions for Mr. Hargrove, or he has any more evidence that he would like to present, and then we'll consider evidence closed. Once that's occurred, we'll allow each side to make a 2-minute closing statement, and then we'll turn it over to the board.
I would like to ask Ms. King one question, if I could.
This part's not timed because
Yes.
you all are asking the questions, so
Yeah,
only
yes.
his formal presentation of evidence was timed.
Okay.
And how many do we have left?
Off of
Formal
here.
presentation.
Just
4 minutes?
Formal, but your questions are not timed.
Your questions are not timed.
I just want to ask her, does she feel like that you were rude in any way by asking him to leave? Did you do it?
Asking you.
I didn't ask him.
She didn't even ask.
You never asked him to leave.
On that day.
It was capped.
and that
She
day,
never asked you to
I never
leave.
said
No, we never
anything.
spoke.
I didn't engage him in any kind of way. I never said anything to him. When he went by me, I said nothing to him. While they were out in the hallway, I said nothing to him.
Yeah.
When I walked out of the building, I said nothing. When I had not started my conversation with Mr. Bartlett. Before I left, before the door closed and I walked down the steps. And then I started to talk to Mr. Bartlett. And by that time, I turned around and he was coming at me out of the door. So I had no interaction with him, was not a part of anything that was going on in terms of Mr. Capps asking him to leave. None whatsoever. I was simply going to relay what had started to happen. So there was, as it is, there was absolutely no reason for him to be following me inside the building.
Caps was the only one to ask you to leave, right?
And let me make this clear. The first day, he said there was no voters in there. He actually followed his better half, or whatever he called it, into the booth. And he's not allowed to do that. That's why I told you. Did
I didn't
you?
go into the booth.
You were taking the steps, he was in the first.
I
booth.
did
You were
not.
behind her. You
Never.
Gentlemen, we'll have to agree to disagree on that point. Thank you.
No way.
All right.
That's what I.
We,
It's
the board will have conflicting evidence on that testimony, and you all can take that for what it's worth. Is there any other questions from the board for Mr. Hargrove?
Y'all got any more questions from the board? Got any more?
I don't know.
Okay.
If there's audio of it, do we have time to play this audio?
Is there audio, and I don't have a copy
Of
of
the
what's been
altercation where-
presented. Is there audio of the incident itself?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I
Do
mean,
we have time to play it that way so stuff ain't projected? If there's audio of this whole conversation where he's screaming, hollering, going crazy, we got audio of it right here. Can we play it?
let's play it. If the board, that's up to the board, but certainly I
Mr.
would think
Burns,
that
are
would be
you
the best
okay?
evidence
Are you
of what
okay
has
with
occurred.
Say that again, that you got,
Okay with it?
You got an audio of what went on?
of what went on.
Yes, everything that was said.
Okay, so why wasn't this part of the
I
story?
know.
It's what he opened his argument with whenever he said that he emailed every one of us stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, this wasn't even brought up. Now we're hearing this about audio of this altercation.
This is
I
what
mean,
actually happened, sir.
He mentioned it right when he first
This is
walked
what
up to the
my
mic.
presentation is based on, what actually happened.
so why wasn't this brought up to start with?
I just did.
No, I'm talking about to start with,
The way?
at the beginning.
I did. I just presented my
It's in the-
case.
It's in the thing.
He said we
He
had
said
audio
that-
on his closing,
On his open, when he
right there.
opened
All right, wait, gentlemen, if I may, just
That case is
just to
based on-
clarify, sir, just to clarify, is this audio of the incident that occurred on May 15th in the administration building, or is this audio of other events?
This is audio of what happened outside the polling place,
May 15th.
in the hallway, and then outside, and then back in the hallway.
How do we know that?
Huh?
How do we know that?
Well, let's play it, and you can listen to
I
it.
don't know.
Let me ask this here, who recorded this? Who recorded
I
this?
did.
So, in other words, you just, you record this at the beginning of, did you already have it on record and you intended to, make the scene?
What?
Whenever you recorded it, did you start recording after this was taking place, or did you already have your recorder on when you got ready to make the scene?
What scene?
The scene that's alleged that the sheriff here, the deputy said here, that other people, you got 3 different people here that's talking about the way that you behave. Mr. Capps, Ms. King, and also what, Mr. Corbett? I believe he has a written statement.
Yeah.
Mr. Corbett, so,
Okay.
so that's what I'm saying, so you recorded this.
Yes. When I got tossed out of the voting room, the voting place, I had to go out to the truck and get my code book, because I thought for sure there was something in the codes about it. Turns out it was in the poll watcher's handbook. Anyway, when I went outside, I got my recorder before I went back inside. So what you have there is everything that's happened after I left and then came back in, including whatever Ms. King said, including whatever happened outside on the sidewalk, including whatever Mr. Nelson said, Mr. Bartlett said, the sheriff. It was all there until I walked back out again at 4:45. And that's what the transcript's based on, and this is what my brief is based on.
Okay, do y'all wanna hear it?
I'd have to object because that's not the whole incident.
It wouldn't beat all of it, would it?
Well, that's what's been discussed here, at least half of it.
Half, that's not the whole incident.
Well, you have some fear about this is the truth?
No, you have not the whole incident.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, directed to the board, because this is ultimately your decision. I think we are toward the end of the amount of time that Mr. Hargrove was allotted. This obviously is an important point. If the board desires to watch or listen to a portion of the incident, understanding it will not reflect the entirety of the course of events, Mr. Hargrove has stated that. There will be events that occurred that led up to that, and then you all may listen to the portion of the incident. Now's the time to do that if you desire to do that.
I have no objection to you deferring the decision until later, until you can consider all the evidence. I don't, they might, but I don't.
I don't wanna defer this here, and about this video, Commissioner Lucas, you have a copy of it?
We all do,
We got a copy of it?
in your email. In your,
No, I'm talking about the recording.
You have a copy of it, we were all emailed a copy of it.
When will we email this?
Everybody?
What time
What time
was
was
it?
it?
3:48.
3:48 today?
It was at 3:48.
today?
No, that's jacked up there now. I mean,
It's
So-
still there.
it's
It's
3:48.
still there, though. I mean,
Mr.
there's still
Chairman,
a-
in an ideal situation,
Can we go
Mr.
there and
Hargrove,
talk
do you
about
have the
it?
ability to play the audio where this board can hear it right
Jonathan
now?
might, let me see.
If Mr. Hargrove
I've
does
got
not
it right
have
here.
the,
If you
that,
can pipe it
that,
in, yeah.
yeah, that would be the ideal situation. If he does, we'll see if technology-wise we can make that happen. Do I have a majority of the board that desires for this evidence to be entered?
Do y'all wanna listen to it?
Yes, I do.
I want to.
He won't? Do you wanna listen to it, Jerry?
Okay.
I've got it, I've got it.
It's fine if they
All right.
want to.
Timmy,
Okay,
can you?
Leonard, you wanna listen to
Excuse
it?
me, Commissioner Lucas,
Not
could
really,
you
Mr.
play
Chairman,
that
'cause they,
where we
this
can
is,
hear
they
it?
said right at the 11th and a half hour,
Yeah.
and it's like they've been sitting on this here and, no.
Well, we got 4 that says they wanna listen to it.
All right, let's listen to it.
All right, just push it over.
I think,
All right, Jonathan actually thinks he can play it over the loudspeaker where it could be recorded, so that would be a best practice.
How did she get?
If you wanna speak about 11th hour, I just saw this 45 minutes ago
Oh, okay.
So what?
All right, well,
with the board's evidence.
No,
I mean, let's just listen to it and see if there was a whole bunch
all
of
right,
screaming
Mr.
and
Hargrove, I
hollering and
think
see if there's
if
some
we
people-
can, we've determined that we are gonna listen to it, so let's forego any more argument about, that specific issue. So, Mr. Daniel can't play it right now. Mr. Commissioner Lucas, can you play it and let's see if we all can hear it? Recognizing, and just again for the record, that this is not the entirety of the incident.
All right, it's about 4:15. All right, show me the part where elections board members aren't inside the booth.
Right here, what the sign says. What does the sign say?
Show me.
Show me, right there, what it says. Walk, please, show me, what's it say? What does it say on that table right there?
This is for voters.
No, look right there where it says, poll workers, poll watchers, and person actively involved in permitted in this area. Are you voting? Are you a poll watcher? Sorry about that. What's up? This is twice this has happened with the same guy. They came in here yesterday, told me to get out. Came in here today, told me to get out. When there's voters in there, they keep referring to a sign that says only poll watchers, and persons actively voting or permitted in this area. I've got my tag on just for his edification. Does it say poll worker, poll watcher? There's nothing to work out, but take care of your granddaughter. I'm going to be here when you get here. Thank you. I read the book, okay? Oh, good. Did you read what that sign said? this is what applies.
The state of Georgia the one that sent those out, I didn't.
Huh?
The state of Georgia sent that stuff out. I didn't.
Do you agree or disagree with this?
I agree with what they said, what that thing says. And if they tell me different, that anybody can walk in there. And if there's nobody in there, I don't care if you go in there.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It does.
No, it does not.
It does.
There are rules against being around people who are voting. That's it. I'm allowed in there anywhere except to watch people observe them voting at their tablet.
What does the sign say? That's the only thing I'm going by.
You are the, I know, that's the only thing you're going by. You're ignoring the actual elections
I'm
code.
going by what they told me right there. Now, if you want to get Carlos over here and he tells you it's good to go in there, stick with me, baby.
It shouldn't take Carlos, but we'll wait on it, okay? I think somebody needs to go back to some training.
I don't think I'm anybody. I think I'm a poll worker.
Well, let's make sure we clarify this today.
Suits me. And you act like you don't know me.
You act like you don't know me.
I do know you. And because they put you on the board don't mean you come in and start running things. It don't work like that.
Larry,
Yes.
it's in the elections code.
I'm just going by what they told us, and that's what I'm going
All
by.
right, then you're not properly trained,
Well,
okay? So we're going to fix that right now.
Well, when they change that sign, when the state sends me another sign, then I'll change it.
When the state sends you a sign,
When the state sends me another sign like that.
We got people voting.
Okay.
Ludine, question.
I'll be right back.
I don't believe it, actually.
So looking through the paper right now,
I can imagine what July's gonna be.
continues, the conversation continues.
The breeze, I wish we had, could bottle up that breeze or something. Oh, wait, okay, that'd be fine. Y'all here to 5 or 5?
Fast forward up to minute 10.
Actually, the desk outside the podium off, trying to find
My daughter read this and so,
I want to listen to this.
very rude, he's very disrespectful, he flips his back, most timing does not feel well. So he said, you know what, I'm talking to someone, I don't even need you in my face.
I need to listen to this. You're talking to me.
In my face, please.
You're talking about me right now.
Please get out of my face.
I'm not in your face.
Yeah, you are, you're in my space.
All right, how's
Please
that?
leave. I just need you to leave. This is the
I need
thing
to
that I'm
listen to
talking
this.
you about. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. See, I need you to just, would you do something with him? Because I'm not going to tell a lie on you because you're not working.
You are telling and allowing me right now.
Yeah, you did. You walked in, you flipped your badge at me. You never spoke to me. You flipped your badge. You walked all the way back to
What is
Donald
going on
Corbett.
with this girl?
Don't do that.
I don't know exactly, you know.
You never said a word. You flipped your badge.
You never speak to me.
You flipped your badge. You walked all the way
See?
back.
Board member.
You walked all the not
Board
yourself.
member.
You walked all the way back.
All right.
I saw you were a board member, and you walked.
Then what's the issue?
And
What's
talked
the
to another
issue?
person.
What is the issue?
And just begin because
What is
you
the
are
issue
a
here?
rude,
I don't know, I'm coming over here to
disrespectful
find out
person.
what's going on.
I'm sorry, Dan.
I walked in there just to talk to people, see what was going on, check the count on the machine, talk to Don in the back, walk around, and then all of a sudden, some voters come in, I'm in the back, and then Caps tells me to get out. And he says, and I said, why? What do you mean rude? I'm rude now.
We have a lot of.
You've been rooting the whole time.
Yeah, we need to hold it down.
Come on down here.
You know.
They don't need to hear this.
Well,
I just walked in there to walk around and check the scene. And then he comes in here and says, get out.
I want to be outside.
Show me in the code book where elections board members can't walk around inside a voting room.
Well, I don't know what will happen, but we want everybody to be respectful going in, make sure that if anybody voting, we don't disturb them. And so I
I just walked in there minding my own
First
business.
thing I said, look at the sign. If you're not a co-worker or observer,
you can't be in there.
so,
He's not seeing any of this.
Cans and coming in to, you know, to
but he's
check
not
out the
gonna
scene.
stand around and shoot breeze to this.
No, not.
What do you mean shooting the breeze? What are you talking about?
When you back there talking to one man?
I was talking to Don, the clerk.
Yeah.
Is there something wrong with that too?
Not supposed to be there talking.
Is he a voter?
He could be.
Is he a voter?
He could be. I don't
Yes or no? Is he a voter?
But honestly, all questions, everything should be directed at whoever the manager is.
Who manages?
I mean, we just, you know.
Who manages that?
Well, we have three people that could be managers. I don't know who's the manager today.
She is.
She's the manager.
Who is?
Barbara is.
Okay. So why is she calling people and telling her people I'm rude?
You know,
Well, I got rude when you threw me out. You understand that? You have no right to throw me out.
I did according to that. Now, somebody got to
Carlos, is there a way we can correct this sign?
No,
To make sure that-
that sign is legal. That sign is a posted sign.
Well, your workers are taking this as an indication that they can throw board members out.
You know, I want everybody, board members, even when I come in, I'm respectful. I don't just.
You understand what I'm saying? I had every right to be in there.
I understand
What did she tell you
I
when you
understand
went
what
in?
you're saying. You know, and I'm going to talk to Mr. Camp. You have a right to be there. You have a right to disturb the poll workers.
Okay, do you understand that?
But you don't have a right to disturb the poll workers or nothing like that.
I'm not.
You know, because everything supposed to go through the manager and conversation as the manager what's on the poll pad. We don't interfere with none of
Haven't interfered with anything. I went back and talked to one guy, asked him how the voting was going.
you know. Well, actually, that should have been going to the manager, actually, still. You know, I'll be honest with you.
Well, should I apologize to her?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's between y'all right now. I don't know. I'm trying to find out what's going on. I'm hearing pieces now.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
trying
told
to
you the same thing
piece
I
things
told you.
together. I'm just trying to be.
I go by what that sign says, look at the sign. It don't say anything on there about a poll member, a board member. It doesn't say that.
I'm a board member. I'm allowed.
Does it say that on that sign?
Well, obviously not. Maybe we should write board member on the signs from here on out, just for Larry.
No, that's the sign that board members are allowed to come in, but everybody, all the conversation is going through the manager.
Mm-hmm. I walked in, I showed her my badge, I walked back and talked to one of the poll workers in the back. Went up there and checked the count on the vote machine, was talking, some voters came in, Larry can't get out. Just like that. You want to speak about rude?
I said,
that was rude.
No, that wasn't. I said, come on, listen. You need to come out.
You said get out.
Yeah, because you didn't move.
Well, why would I? I'm supposed to be there. I wish this was funny. I wish this was funny.
He has so much to do. Thank you for coming, ma'am. Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
I thought you were coming to look
I
for
guess
me.
I'll go driving,
She called in.
I'll go drive, I'm not waiting on my end, so hey.
Who called you?
Get it over with.
I'm sorry, who called you? Oh, the chief?
Somebody called out there, Sheriff's Office.
That's interesting.
Wasn't me, my fault.
Somebody called the Sheriff's Office, and then the chief called me, and he said, you still over there? Because I was right there.
Is that Carl? Carl called you?
Chief Katie. McNeese.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a board member. We're having a discussion about whether I'm allowed to be in the room or not. I know. Don't ask. Well, Barbara, I'm sorry I upset you. I'm sorry I just flashed my badge and showed you who I was.
No, you
And
didn't
I'm-
upset me, you were just rude.
I'm not rude.
Yes, you were. We have two witnesses of your rudeness.
Two witnesses.
Please,
We have two witnesses who observed exactly what you did. The one that you talked to, the gentleman that you talked to, as well as the young lady who was at the scanner.
All right, so what did I do to the young lady at the scanner?
I'm saying they observed how rude you were to me.
When, what, I didn't even speak
You know
to
what,
you.
and there you go, that's the point. That is the point.
Well, the point is you never speak to me either, so what?
That is the point.
What's the point?
And the point is, you don't have to speak to me.
So you just set it up her.
Way to go, Ware.
Way to go.
Figure out what's going on, you know, between the confrontation about him going in and being rude and all that stuff. I'm just trying to.
There's a little lack of training going on here as far as the rules for these guys. They don't understand that board members can be in the room as long as they don't observe the voters. So that's something that Carlos and Dan, the chairman.
At the end of the day, he's running the elections.
Right, so he just said it was okay, got that?
He said what was okay?
Me being in there.
Board members can't.
It's according to the
Listen to what he's saying.
It's according to the elections code.
Listen, I don't deal with all that.
Yeah.
Let him say what he's saying, and then I'll listen to what you're saying.
All right, tell it to him.
Yeah, board members can go in there, but like I mentioned, Mr. Hargrove, everything goes through the manager. You know, if you want to know how many is on the scanner, how many is for voting, we talk to the manager, and we don't try to interfere with the workers, because we're just staff, board members, and we're there just to, to see how things going, and we basically.
The story I'm getting in there, guys, just FYI, when I walked in, I showed the manager my badge, because I didn't have it yesterday.
Well,
She knows me, but
yesterday you bought your Naya, I can't remember. You bought your girlfriend your.
it was with someone who voted, I dropped it off here.
But then you was there for that purpose, and that was totally.
And now I'm here as a board member, I'm here as a board member.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why you came back just to test.
Actually, I did, I want to see how rude these people were gonna be to me. And, well, here we are. Anyway, it's a bunch of BS. According to the code, I'm totally allowed to walk in there. According to the sign, which they're trying to interpret, I'm not. That's between.
But that's the sign that we are required to put up. Only active voters are allowed to be in the voting space. That's everybody. Okay.
Look, if Barbara wants to pursue this, I'm more than happy to.
But as a board member, I don't have a problem with board members going in to find out what's going on.
Well, there's no reason to. You know the law as well as I do.
But we don't do it even.
She's trying to make something out of this that's not there.
Hello, sir.
Mr.
Why are we
Troublemaker.
having a clown show?
Yeah, tell me, why?
Tell me.
What have I done?
I don't know.
I walked in, showed Barbara my badge, went back and talked to the clerk in the back about polls and voting, how many people had been there. Went and checked the scanner, the count. Walked out, went back in with some voters there. Larry Capps comes in and says, you can't be here, get out, look at the sign. And that's how it all started. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. So you can voters in here, you need to be out.
So Larry does not
Sign
understand.
that says, what does that sign say that the state says? No one allowed here, but voters, poll workers.
This is everybody.
Eddie Bartlett.
He's on board chair.
He's the board chairman. This is the election supervisor. This is a poll worker. So we got all the group here now.
What I try to explain, even as what we do, and when you go in there, I hope you do the same thing, but I know we interact through the board, through the manager. So the manager gets the numbers, we just don't go and interfere with the workers at all. And what Ms. Capps was saying is they went right back up and downward and just whatever. And then when voters came in, now board members are allowed to go in there to observe and then basically be unseen.
That's right.
And just go.
Shouldn't be interfering with anything.
No, didn't. Barbara's upset because I didn't say good afternoon, Barbara.
No, that's not what she's upset about.
And what is she upset about?
Well, you went in there and try to show your authority.
I do have authority.
In front of other people.
I didn't embarrass anybody.
Well, see there, that's what I'm talking about right there. You can't talk to you, because you got to show your authority, and that's what you did.
She never talks to me. But that's another story.
Anyway,
I'm not flashing my authority. I just want to know if I can come in here and look at the,
you can, according to him, he corrected, because I go by the sign. That's
I understand.
what he told us to do. That's my training. You don't let anybody in here unless it's voting, poll worker, or an observer. Correct?
Watch it, yeah.
So, yeah, a poll watcher, yeah. And that's where I'm going with it. That's
is
what the
Lou Dean a
sign
poll
says.
worker?
He is a poll worker
Okay, all right.
of the, over here, yeah.
So it's just other board members who aren't signed up as poll workers will run into this.
Even when I come in,
You can.
I always go to the manager first. Hello, how you doing? How things going?
Mm-hmm.
Just keep it on the cool and calm level.
Yeah.
We don't need to elevate, especially if there's a voter in there.
Tell me about it.
What? Then why are we in an elevated situation then?
Because I just got tossed out of a polling precinct.
We heard what he said. Yep. Now, why are you in there looking at numbers and everything? I mean...
All I'm looking at is the count on the scanner, see how many people voted since yesterday.
Well, the scanner's not back here when you were talking to Don.
Well, I talked to Don because I didn't know him. Is there a problem with that too?
What do you say? You're not supposed to talk to anybody. Go in there and talk.
He was sitting in the back.
That's exactly right. That is not where the number.
Don was a guy I'd never seen before, sitting in the back on the chairs. I went back and spoke to him for a couple of minutes. Asked him how things are going. This is a mountain out of a molehill. Lou Dean, you're a witness against me now too?
I'm not against nothing. I try to tell you, if we have voters, when we went every precinct. We did not know where the people was voting.
Of course not. It's in the elections code.
But we had 5 people back there. When we were standing there, and he came and told you to leave. And he told you to get out there. He got him a right to, because those people can call him and say, I can't vote because of this. And you got in conversation with him. That's why he said nothing to you, because you was wrong. If you were back there, you saw those people in line. You got to leave. You cannot talk to those people.
I didn't talk to them.
Even though you're a board member.
I don't go within 6 feet of them. It's against the law.
But it was 5 at the voting, and he asked you in a nice way to leave. And you said,
It's the same rules as poll watchers, Lou
it
Dean.
don't matter about what that is.
It's the same rules as poll watchers.
I'm not going to even talk about it.
All right, I'm not going to try to explain the law.
I'm just an observer here right now, but it seems like can't nobody get a word in with you.
Okay.
I mean, they're all trying to explain their different roles and what happened and what's going on, and Lou Dean walked up, and the first thing you said to her was, are you a witness against me too now?
Well, Barbara just told me there's 3 witnesses against me for being rude and
I don't think there's, at this point...
I think Bob said there's 3 witnesses of what happened. I heard that part of the conversation.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's really against anybody. They were trying to get it all
against him.
situated and
I have no problem with that at all.
do what we gotta do and go on about
Yeah.
business, and people can come vote. If I was in there voting and you come in there like that, I'd probably have an issue with it.
I have a suggestion. You would come back, wait till the voters leave. Go in there and look at any numbers you want to, but as long as there's people in line or in there voting, don't upset the apple cart here. Just let them get through. Go in there and check your numbers.
Why is this an issue? Because of a misunderstanding over the wording of the sign, correct?
Well, yes and no.
Okay. Well, Danny, I'm not going to make a big deal out of this. If you want me to resign, I'll be happy to.
We'll mull over that.
Okay.
And I got to talk to Barbara and then to, that, it would be probably best if you left right now.
All right, FYI, Barbara has never been anything but rude to me. which is one reason I don't speak to her normally, which is why I did this when I went by and went to the back. Anyway, it's up to you. Let me know. See you guys.
That it? That's it.
Okay.
And that's what happened.
Any more questions for Mr. Hargrove?
Madam Attorney.
Anymore?
I just like to say that I didn't want to hear, but I'm glad I heard it now, because that even, it really, you got it in verbal with Mr. Hargrove, and, you know, so if we had to vote again, y'all vote here, but we heard it, and, it's really kind of
Well,
sad.
all crazy and screaming, like was
The
projected.
whole thing's crazy. The whole thing's crazy.
For sure.
Let me say this right here.
I will say that.
But I say this right here now, as far as the screaming and all that kind of stuff, that's really, that's to me, that was irrelevant about I'm talking about the meat and the content of what was being said. That's what's more important to me than so much the tonality of it. And, I don't know, like say, if a couple of times I heard, you know, raised voices. I won't say screaming, but raised voices. And, I think we just need to try to focus on the real facts of the matter here, and not get into the little side things, you know, what, you know, did he yell or did he not yell? Just like Mr. Hargrove, Sammy, he said, he keeps saying that he was thrown out, he was forced out.
I understand that.
Yeah, and that's not, he was
asked to leave. He was.
Yeah.
I thought they
I
handled
think-
it
I
pretty
think,
good. Really, I
they-
thought
they-
both
they-
sides.
In my opinion, don't know if flipping a badge says that's rude or not. If they don't really talk a lot anyways, you know, sometimes you don't get along with people, so you ain't gonna say much to them.
Right.
Okay, most time them people just kinda head off.
Right.
And he just showing, hey, maybe you know, I don't think that going further, that you staying on is gonna be good for the election board myself, because I think y'all are all just gonna be,
Right.
you know,
Be bickering constantly.
that's just my opinion. Do I think you were in the wrong? No, sir. Carlos admitted it several times that you're right about the law. Okay? I think so.
It's not the law. It's not the law.
Well, y'all have done admitted he can go in there. And y'all want your people to go in there. And Carlos actually told Mr. Capps there in this video right here that he's allowed to be in there.
Not the voters.
Not with voters in.
Not when a voter's in it, but he said he had to
That's
opt
right.
in.
So if voter comes in, he don't,
Believe.
that's fine. And that's okay. But you can't expect, like, you should have just went ahead and went out. But you can't stand him, like, he don't know when a voter's coming in that door. So, you better get out there quick, you know, or so,
Well,
if
except for
you're
the
in
fact
there.
that I thought I could be in
Mr.
there.
Hargrove.
I think that.
Let's let the commissioner speak uninterrupted, please, everyone. Thank you.
I think that moving forward, that this altercation right here won't be good for our board, you know? And I don't wanna sit up here and have to say, hey, we need to kick this man off. But I can go ahead and tell you, if I don't feel like I'm part of the team, or the majority of the team has a problem with me, or whatever, I don't really wanna be there. You know what I'm saying?
You're exactly what you're saying.
And so I don't think that this decision that we make today is anything directed towards you. I don't believe. I just don't see where, now, if Mr. Danny, Carlos, Ms. King, Mr. Capps, y'all can all say, hey, let's get over this, and let's move on. If y'all all agree to do it and put forth the effort to do it, you know, that would be great.
And the one thing,
You know, but I just don't know, that's just you know, that's for y'all to do.
Mr. Chairman, just before, I know that the board wants to have a lot of discussion on this, and before we do, just procedurally, if you don't mind, we'll formally close Mr. Hargrove's presentation of evidence. let's give each side 2 very quick minutes, and literally 2 minutes. The clerk is going to time it. Take your 2 minutes, say whatever you would like to say to the board, and then at that point, we will not accept any further comments from the audience unless specifically requested by the chair, and or recognized by the chair and at the board member's request.
Okay.
So, if we may, let's take our last 2 minutes and finish this procedurally.
Y'all have one, Danny?
This is exactly what I didn't want to happen. You heard it. It was a clown show. It was a circus. You've heard it. After I heard them and witnessed what I witnessed, I concluded that a change must be made. I called Mr. Hargrove the next day, asked him for his resignation. He asked me why. I told him that after sleeping on it and contemplating all that I had seen and heard, I would take him up on the offer he made the previous day to resign, which you heard. He told me that he was not going to resign. Let me finish by reading from the minutes of the board meeting that was held on election day. And I quote, Chairman Bartlett called on Mr. Hargrove for comments. Mr. Hargrove said his letter speaks for itself and he did nothing wrong. Chairman Bartlett replied, Mr. Hargrove, you did everything wrong. Instead of extricating yourself from the situation and calming everyone down, you chose to exasperate the situation to the point that voters were concerned and wanted to leave before voting. These are actions detrimental to the purpose and goals of a board member, which is to assist and support the smooth and efficient efforts to bring fair and transparent elections to the citizenry. The poll workers and the voters deserved better. The chairman then asked Mr. Hargrove to resign by the end of the day. Mr. Hargrove said that he would not resign, unquote. I'm with you, Mr. Burse. After listening to that, I think if I had a mic in my hand, I'd drop it. You heard the circus. We cannot continue with a circus on this Board of Elections, especially with the November elections coming up that are already going to be firecrackers. So I hope that you would take and use your lawful authority to go ahead and remove Mr. Hargrove and let him go back to being the guardian of the citizenry where he works best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bartlett.
Mr. Hargrove?
All right, Mr. Hargrove.
First of all, I'd like to apologize, board, and all the citizens of Ware County for this circus that we just went through. The fact that we're even here today represents a failure of the board to handle policy questions in-house. I've been lied about, maligned, been threatened. It's taken over a year for this to surface. I believe that the first lie in 2020 has been the driving force behind most of what's happened since. Not one person has mentioned anything to me that would lead me to believe I was any source of aggravation to anyone regarding an election matter. Now the board attempts to hang me over misidentification by others, code misunderstandings by others, poor working relationship started by others. I'm beginning to smell the hypocrisy here. Don't get me wrong, I'll work with anybody on the board or anywhere else in any capacity for the county. I signed up for this, I'll still sign up for other functions. But obviously a few things needed to be cleared up first. I see now that that's not going to happen. Whatever you guys decide is fine. But as long as you make the decision based on facts, that's all I care about. In closing, the board has gotten one thing right. You do need to decide if there's cause to remove a member. Falsely accusing others, I think is a good cause to remove. I just didn't think it was me. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all of them. Okay, any commission? What y'all got?
I'm good.
Anything would y'all like to say? Leonard, you got anything?
The only thing I can say is just this whole situation is a sad situation. I don't think it should have ever happened, but it happened, and now we got to deal with it. And I couldn't agree with Commissioner Sammy Moore that, you know, the board voted unanimously to remove this member. And I'm like Sammy said, if the board has voted to remove, I'm talking unanimously, it wasn't like it was close or anything like that, then if I were on that board, I think, well, if they really don't want me here, then, you know, maybe best thing we do is just move on, find something else to do, because it's going to always be that contention there, it's always going to be that hostility there, it's always going to be just, it's not going to make the board function as it should. So I agree with you, Commissioner Sammy, on that, and this is not an easy thing for me to do, but, you know, we charged to do what we got to do, and so that's all I have to say about that, Mr. Chairman, right now. That's all I have.
Okay, anybody else?
I'd like to add something to Commissioner first, if you don't mind. And I've known Mr. Hargrove for some time now, and that's the main reason I asked you that question about the elevation, when I was asking you about elevating the situation. You know, and being what I've done for longer than I've been alive, that's the reason I always lean on, especially if I have a law enforcement officer's perspective. And he even said, and of course I'm paraphrasing, I'm not doing word for word, and he says, look at what we got now. Nobody can talk to you, you know, because you were agitated at that time. And being in, it's just my opinion, you know, we all have opinions, but it's just my opinion. When you got agitated at that time, you should have immediately removed yourself from the situation. Because you're, just like we said earlier, you're part of the superintendent, you're the board. You're the one at the top. Instead of elevating, you should have digressed and went to the bottom, and you should have walked out. And when that sergeant said, I mean, he told you twice on that recording, and that's what I hone in on. You know, I mean, it's just like us commissioners, we get faced with things daily. We're human, we get upset, you know, but we have to withhold our feelings. Just like law enforcement officers, we have to withhold our feelings. Because if we step across that line, there's always an answer for it. Okay, and I don't like the situation, I don't like it being here before this commission, and it's nothing personal. Okay?
Okay. Any more?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I'm very disappointed that it's got to this point that 5 people can't work together. And got the county commission dragged into it. I wish there had been some de-escalation and walking away and then come back later. But what we don't need this year, particularly with the presidential election, is problems down there. We don't need to be another Fulton County. They always have problems up there. I'm just disappointed in the way all this happened.
Mr. Chairman, let me just say one other thing. Next to the election board, I would hope that, you know, in the future, that maybe you could put a little bit more emphasis on the training aspect for the board members, poll workers, and make sure we got clarity to these board members to what they can and what they can't do, and don't leave any gray area in there. And I think if you do that, it would circumvent a lot of this stuff that we're talking about now about, you know, that's happening and everything. And because, like I said, we want to make this thing work smooth, work a good functional board, and like I said, we got, you know, a general election coming up in November, and so we already got enough stuff we got to deal with without having in-house stuff to deal with. And Mr. Hargrove, like I say, it's unfortunate that this happened. Wish it would be a way it could have been different, but I think in view of what's happening, it's just gonna make it hard, you know, for the board to continue to function if you got someone on the board that they feel like they can't work with. So I think that Danny and Carlos, that they if there's anything to see where maybe they fell short and maybe say, maybe we could tweak this just a little bit, I think they'll do that.
Yeah, I think to Leonard's point, there's, to me, there, I don't hear very well, but there seemed to be a disconnect between definitions on what board members could do. Carlos says one thing, and Mr. Hargrove has the idea of something else, two different definitions. And to me, I can't understand why the board members aren't required to have training. I mean, this is one of the hottest topics you can possibly have in the state of Georgia with no training. Carlos says there's no budget for training. That can be taken care of, but it looks like, I mean, adopt something to require training online or whatever it takes, because, I mean, this is ridiculous here. This is terrible.
Yeah. And, Mr. Chairman, maybe one more. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask too was, okay, it may be that maybe your budget doesn't allow you to maybe send people off to training, but sometimes you may have a thing where you can have someone that has expertise to come in and train the board, like an in-house training session, you know, where the board members are still here, but they're getting the training that they need at that time instead of having to go off.
They have instructors to come. It would
Right.
well cost them.
Commissioner, there will be training for board members to operate as a board, but when they go off to the state trainings, they deal with everything dealing with election law. I mean, from early voting to everything. So it's I mean, you talking about a 4-day training, you know, a conference like y'all would go to, the ACCG, you do the same thing with elections. So when you go into Savannah or go into Athens, y'all know the hotel rooms push your budget.
Yeah.
Trying to send 5 people, and that's what I was saying. We try to budget for 2, you know, because we know that $2,500 and plus then with Ms. Lori going and I'm going, that's 4 people. You know, that's a, Mr. Scott, you know, that's a lot of money. Talking about sending a total board. Bringing a person in for training could handle the board responsibilities, how to operate as a board, but it would not necessarily deal with the A to Z in election. And that's what you get when you go to the statewide training.
It looks to me like that somebody's on the board, of course I know this is all new, this is the first board that was appointed, but it looks like they should obligate themselves to take the training before anybody's ever appointed. I mean, that's.
And we don't need to let a dollar be a hurdle in training that needs to be done.
Yeah.
The dollar ain't gonna, that can't be a hurdle
No,
in
there's money
training.
available for that. I mean,
You know, ask us for some money, I'm pretty sure we'll give you some, you know. That, we don't need a dollar is the reason why we can't do something, especially like some training, you know. It's my
I know
opinion.
just like with the commission.
Cheap ain't fun and fun ain't cheap.
When we're elected, the first year, within that first year, it's mandatory that you have to go to new elected officials, you know, training.
I just done mine. With the help.
Is there any more?
No, sir.
Before we ask for a vote?
One thing that you talking about the training and like I said, the poll workers get trained to death. I mean, I'm serious, because before every election, before I can even go to the precinct, I had to meet with them the day before to go over the new rules and regulations, which I pass on to the other people, so our opinion is,
And I think what we're emphasizing more is the board being trained.
Right.
The more training going to the board, that way that they can,
It should be.
you know, train y'all better. If that's who's training, if the board's training the poll workers and the watchers, you know, that's what kind of we're emphasizing
Okay.
on the.
Any more?
I don't.
Mr. Hargrave, this is a hard thing for us 5 to do. I want you to know that, to make a decision, to either keep you or let you go. It's hard for us to do that. But the evidence of what happened is painful in a way. But I'm gonna ask for a motion to remove him, or either, whichever way y'all wanna do it.
Mr. Chairman, like I say, it's been a long day, and in view of all the evidence, in view of the election board already have voted to remove Mr. Hargrove from the election board, I want to offer a motion that we, at this time, ask for removal of Mr. Hargrove from the Ware County Election Board.
And I'll second that motion.
I got a motion and a second to remove him. Is there any more discussion on it now? No, let's vote on it. Mr. Burson? Aye. Mr. Pope?
Aye.
Mr. Lucas?
Aye.
Mr. Hendrick?
Nay.
Chair votes aye.
If no further discussion, then I think we'll take a motion
Need
to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chair.
I'll
Got a
second.
motion, got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Meeting adjourned.
Missed it.